The Oracle of Luna is a podcast with me, Bridget Engels, as your host. Here we have conversations with real live, present-day goddesses who are actively and courageously doing their magical work in the world. Each episode is a bewitching journey with relevant discussions on topics such as Wiccan pagan spirituality, writing, culture, magical practices, art, ritual, and the craft in its many forms. Merry meet! Welcome to the 100th episode of the Oracle of Luna podcast. And happy Imbolc and bright Brigid blessings. I'm Bridget Engels, your host, and today we have a special group panel show in honor of Goddess Brigid in her many aspects. At Imbolc-tide as Witches and Pagans, Brigid is celebrated as the most powerful threshold goddess standing between winter and spring on the wheel of the year. She is the Exalted One, the Celtic Pagan high goddess of fire, sacred wells, poetry, Smithcraft, healing, protection, midwifery, the green earth, a Vodun Lwa, venerated Abbess, and Catholic saint. She is many things to many people and one of the most beloved and popular goddesses throughout history. And Brigid continues her legacy in the present and into the future. So here today, I've invited three esteemed authors and priestesses of Brigid to have a dialogue about who Brigid is to them, what Brigid's aspects or qualities aligns with them the most, and why they connect and devote themselves to Brigid and tend her flame. So now I'll give a brief intro to our listeners about these amazing guests today, starting with Pauline. Pauline Breen is a priestess of Brigid, author, clinical hypnotherapist, and educator. Her deep connection to her homeland, Ireland, inspires her work with Brigid, once revered as the great mother goddess of the Emerald Isle. Through her extensive research, writing, and public speaking, Pauline illuminates the multifaceted and often overlooked aspects of Brigid's legacy. Pauline is the author of Brigid, Dark Goddess of Africa and Ireland, Brigantia, Warrior Goddess, and most recently, Bridget, Lady of the Irish Otherworld. Welcome, Pauline. And then Courtney Weber. Courtney is a witch, award-winning author, tarot advisor, and influencer. She is the author of Brigid, History, Mystery, and Magic of the Celtic Goddess, Tarot for One, The Art of Reading for Yourself, The Morrigan, Celtic Goddess of Magic and Might, Hecate, Goddess of the Witches, and Sacred Tears, A Witch's Guide to Grief. Courtney has been featured in Maxim, Huffington Post, Vice, and The Tom Hartman Show. And then lastly, Marian Brigantia. Marian Brigantia van Upen is a priestess of Brigantia who shares her love for Brigid through her teachings, workshops, tours, and ceremonies. Has been journeying with Brigid for over 20 years and has recently published her book, Brigid Unraveled. Marian is also co-organizer of the yearly Glastonbury Goddess Conference, which celebrated Brigid as Goddess of Healing in 2024. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. I can't wait to jump in. We've got a lot to unpack here. But first, Marian is going to give us a short opening Brigid blessing. So take it away, Marian.
Yes. So this is when we light a candle with the people who have done the training, which we call the Clan of Breach Brigantia. So you could probably hear the match striking because I'm gonna actually light a candle.
Okay.
And we say then, heart to heart, flame to flame, Brigid, I invoke your name. Every day and every night, in the dark and in the light, Brigid, I invoke your name. Heart to heart, flame to flame. Blessed be.
Lovely. Blessed be. So I'm just going to jump right in and start the questions. Pauline, let's start with you. How did you first meet and connect with Goddess Brigid?
For me, growing up in Ireland, I was introduced to Brigid solely as a saint. By accident, through living and working in the UK, I stumbled into Glastonbury in 2003, a long time ago, which blew my mind, and I felt a deep reverence for the area, for the earth, for the land that was there. I was also mystified at how open the goddess community is and how they named one of their goddess expressions Brigid. It was on a meditation one time that I was visiting there, which I returned to Glastonbury very regularly. And it was a homecoming guided meditation meeting my sisters, the priestesses of Avalon. It wasn't intended to be led by Bridget, but it was Bridget that came forward. And the following day, I think it was, I signed up to do Marion's priestess training. And
Oh,
that really was where the journey began. Mhm.
yeah. And Marion, how did you first meet and connect with Goddess Brigid?
For me, it was really in the Netherlands when I started my priestess training. Like Pauline, I was introduced really into the goddess tradition in Glastonbury through the goddess conference. And when I went back to the Netherlands, I started a training by a priestess of Avalon, and she in her wheel of the year, there was Bridget and at Imbolc, obviously, and yeah, and it was just love at first sight. I don't know, it's really hard. People ask me this question quite often, and it's really hard to tell. It's like,
Yeah.
why do you fall in love with
Yeah.
somebody? It's the same thing. Like,
Sure.
why does a certain goddess call you? But she did, and that is really, yeah, and that is now more than 20 years ago, and I've been journeying with her deeper and deeper and deeper every turn of the wheel.
Oh, yeah. Courtney, let's circle back to you. How did you first meet and connect with Goddess Brigid?
So it was really right after 9/11 when a lot of folks here in the United States were exploring, their spirituality on a deeper level after in the wake of that trauma and grief. And I was finding myself pulled directly into witchcraft and started attending circles locally. And she was the first one that was introduced to me. And I attended a I attended a new moon circle, and I was like, I've seen this before in the movies, so I showed up all black and gothy and emo, as they say. And
Mhm.
then I someone said, I think you're, but everybody else was dressed in white and
Yeah, of
glittery
course.
makeup and stuff like that. And then after the ceremony, someone said, I would like to introduce you to a goddess I think you're going to connect with. You're a theater person. She's a goddess of the arts. And also I have you used to be Catholic, so I think there's a connection there. And
Hmm.
that's really what started my journey. And Bridget not only guided me through some pretty, you know, turbulent times in my young adulthood, she also
Hmm.
caused some turbulent times in my young adult.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
she can be tough.
for those that are listening, I'm having a very Bridget moment, and that my little one, who's an Imbolc baby herself, is going to
Aw.
continue to make herself known.
Okay. Hi. Well, I just wanted to say the way I very first started. I grew up Catholic, of course, and went to Catholic Mass every Sunday and CCD and Catholic school, but also when we did do CCD Thursday afternoons, or I think it was Thursday or Friday afternoons, at the church I attended, there was a corridor of saints. So there were statues all along this long corridor with the stained glass golden windows. So every Thursday or Friday afternoon when I attended, walked down there to the CCD class, there was like a golden light shining through on one particular statue, and this statue was Bridget, Saint Bridget, and it was always kind of lighting, illuminating her head and shoulders. And so one day I asked the nun, who is that? And she said, "Well, that's Saint Bridget. That's who you're named after." So anyway, that was the very early beginnings. But later I was in a goddess Dianic Wiccan circle called Women of the Goddess in Seattle area for over 10 years. And then I started my own moon circle, Dianic Moon Circle for women, and wrote all the scripts and was the ritual director and all the meditations. And Imbolc was always a powerful time for rededication, and we all wore white. And so there you have it. The rest is history. Anyway, moving on. This is really intriguing to me. I wanted to really kind of focus on this. What aspect or facet of Brigid in all her various names, we have so many, she is so many things to so many people, that resonates the most with you currently and why? So let's start with Pauline again.
I am the number one to kick it off, aren't I, Bridget? Um, oh wow. There is just so much depth to her, but I think for me, I feel I've come full circle with how I ultimately have known and felt her, even if I couldn't consciously articulate it or express it or even be consciously aware. But I know a long, long, long time ago, there was actually an American personality in Dublin leading a workshop on the Irish fairy goddesses.
Mm.
I went along to this, and during yet another meditation, he mentioned Bridget, and it was incredibly powerful. I couldn't understand because in my head, what is Saint Bridget doing in this long list of fairy goddesses? I didn't think of it. I didn't fully understand it until I started into my most recent book, looking at her as fairy woman. So I think at this point, I feel I've come full circle from not being aware of that energy that was constantly around me to starting into the goddess or entering into the goddess world. So I think Bridget as a source for me is that fairy essence, is that
Mm.
otherworldly essence, but she
Yeah.
has many
Oh, yeah.
faces which I will turn to when I need them. For example, defense boundaries, I would see that as Brigantia, mother nurturing energy. It is obviously Bridget. But for this kind of navigating liminal thresholds, transitions, manifesting, being very clear about my next steps, it is that otherworldly energy that I think I innately turn to and tap into. So,
Hmm.
if I was to describe her, it would probably be the Banfasa, the wise woman, otherworldly energy at the moment.
Yeah, I think we all turn to Brigid in her many aspects at different times in our life. So thank you. I know that you have written some powerful books, especially the one on Mama Brigitte, which I love, where she is a Vodun Lwa and very powerful deity in New Orleans. I'm going to switch over here to Marion. Marion, what aspect and facet of Brigid resonates the most with you currently?
Well, for me, she is really, and this is an archetype that I kind of came across and made up myself, and I call that the Freya, which is like it could be described as a peaceful warrior, but I really don't want to work with even the word war. So Freya means woman of peace, really. So she is the peacemaker. And in that, I think in that archetype, there's also healing. There's her compassion, her unconditional love, non-judgment. That's kind of all woven in there. So the Freya is, for me, she who stands up for what needs to be done, but it's in a peaceful way and an autonomous way. And it comes from that place of love and from that healing and compassion. But it is really standing in power,
Mm.
yeah, from that place. So it is not a place of power over at all. It is from inner power and, yeah, holding your boundaries. Pauline also said it as well, talking about boundaries. I think she was very good like that. She was standing up for justice. She's standing up for the vulnerable. Yeah, and then as a peacemaker, a Freya, that's really the one that at the moment I really feel connected with.
Yeah, especially this time and what's going on in the world.
Well,
Um,
especially in the US.
oh yeah, especially here. Courtney, if you're ready, what aspect or facet of Bridget resonates the most with you currently and why?
Yeah, it's been a journey with the different facets. I think when I was younger, it was certainly more about her bardic aspect, and because I wanted to be a writer so badly, so I was really leaning into that. And then there was the time that I was really fostering a very large community in the tri-state area of the United States. And so that was, I think, that midwife aspect of bringing in a community. And now I really resonate with what Pauline was saying about the boundary keeper, the protector. There's a few myths of Brigid in which, more in her saint form, but she definitely steps back into her Iron Age warrior self. And that when Ireland was under attack, she would hand her staff over and scream and then chase the invaders away. And I think there's a big misnomer about Brigid and among a lot of people here, at least here in the United States, that, well, she's a hearth and home goddess, so she's not all that tough. They think she's just sitting by the fireplace knitting. And I said, well, the hearth and home goddess is also the one who's going to be on the front porch with the shotgun chasing off the drug dealers who are come to collect her son. That's also a hearth and home goddess. And so I feel like she's really the way that people are stepping up to protect their neighbors and push back in some very creative ways. Especially, I live in Portland, Oregon, so there were I say ridiculous in a loving way, ridiculous dance parties happening outside the ICE facilities as a method of protest, and and that made me so happy. And so the non-conventional ways of subverting damaging power over structures is really what and also using your voice to raise alarm that and chase off invaders. The power of words and the power of speech are still so very important. Those are things that are parts of Brigid that I certainly resonate with now.
Absolutely. She's very powerful, and we need her energy in that this aspect so much right now in the world and in the US. As a youngster, it was more of a protector goddess, but then later her flames of purification and transformation were teaching me a lot of hard lessons, growing from an art student into a working person and professional, and I learned some really hard lessons, and I called to Brigid, and she was kind of tough on me a little bit. So I do resonate with her in that aspect of a teacher, but I also think that she is one of the guiding goddesses that I will always have for inspiration, because I need to be inspired in my life. That is one thing that I need in my life. And so I call on Brigid daily with devotions for inspiration. What qualities of Brigid do you love the best? I guess that we kind of talked about that earlier, but is it the flames, maybe about her symbology or myths or legends that you're drawn to? Maybe the Brigid's Cross or Sacred Wells or the Snowdrops or the Forge? Let's start this time with Marion.
So for me, she's very elemental. In the training, in the Brigid training, we work also as a healing. We bring all the elements in, and for me, that is also linked with the Brigid cross that has the 4 elements in there. And for me, that the elements are really part of her healing aspect. So especially the water is the healing. We talked about protection. That is for me, it's the earth, the green mantle. You already mentioned the transformation of the forge, the alchemy, and the wisdom that she comes from air. So I know that's kind of cheating because it's 4 qualities, but they are really, for me, they are really connected with her elemental, her elemental energy. And this is why I find her in the lands. And you can work everywhere with these 4. So in my training, I work a lot with these 4, the 4 elements and what they stand for.
It's almost like she's intertwined in every aspect, every element. Pauline, what qualities of Brigid do you love the best? Or symbology?
This is so hard to even...
Or 1 or 2.
Okay. For me, it's very important to understand her myth. And I take it all into context at the time of history it was noted, or what we can glean from it. I take into account immigration, all of how the Irish diaspora brought her to their newfound lands and what was needed by them. I think Brigid is such a beautiful liminal energy, and it is this liminality. And I guess I have always felt quite liminal in this life. It's almost like a knowing this is the temporary part. The collective is beyond the veil.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I love Brigid, is because we can't box her in. She just evolves constantly to become what we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, I don't venerate her as saint, but I 100% respect everybody that does. It's just an individual preference, but I really do love the mischief that is in the lives of Bridget, as documented by Cogitaus's lives. I mean, of providing abundance and manifestation, and even her downright refusal to get married. You know what, sod it, I'll just pluck out my eye. I just think, yeah, she's bold. Even as a Christian saint, I think she's amazing. Her stories really speak to me, setting up the place for women to live who did not want to get married. I myself, I'm not married. I've never wanted that life. So I really relate to this. I'm not saying I want to be a nun by any stretch, but I just love the boldness of her time.
The
And then
sovereign.
it is,
Sovereign.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I love what she became in the hearts of the Irish immigrants that went to New Orleans, and how those females who were damned to poverty had they stayed in Ireland, but they rose into independence and strength and carving out niches for themselves, working as domestics. Like, she really empowered them. And I love that part of her as well. There's just so much to her. She is so deep.
Yes, so powerful. Courtney,
Mhm.
what sacred symbology or qualities or legends are you most drawn to?
For me, and again, it's a fluid thing.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm really drawn to her tricky nature. These do draw a little bit more from her saint mythology, but how she was asking for land in order to build her church, and I guess it was the bishop or the lord. I can't remember
I thought
exactly
it
who
was the
it was.
king, but
The
yeah, go
king, I knew it
ahead.
was the king, said you can only have as much as your cloak
Right.
will cover, and she kept unfolding her cloak until it covered almost all of Ireland. And I just envision this little saint woman just keep locking eyes with the king as she's unfolding and unfolding and unfolding and unfolding, and it's just like, oh yeah, all right, let's go. And so
I love that one.
she's like, that's how you want to play, okay. So that's how I've been really appreciating that aspect of her recently.
I 100% agree with that one. That's one of my favorite myths, the never-ending green mantle spreading throughout the world. I resonate with the forge, the way that she hammers that forge and to change us to whatever our best essence should be. This has always been in the back of my mind, is her forge. I always envision her forge and I'm the I'm the anvil. It's like sometimes I do feel like she's trying to work me through her forge and through her fire. The element of fire is a big one. Here's a good question for everybody. How do you honor Bridget or tend Bridget's flame within you throughout the year and not just around Imbolc? Let's start with Marion.
Yeah, for me, I'm a full-time priestess, and I live and breathe Bridget all year through. She's never really away, and of course, with my teachings, there's constant deepening into the wheel and meeting students who are coming for about, I think it's the 15th year that I'm teaching this year. And so it's like yeah, I every time I teach, I learn. And in the teachings are a lot of ceremonies and visualizations, and they don't just, it's not like I know everything and I teach them, but she guides me
Mm,
really in how to teach. And especially the visualizations, they are not like pre-written, and sometimes they go in places that I don't know. I mean, last initiation weekend in January, there was this big download coming just out of nowhere almost, that really was to do with the healing and the non-judgment about the situation in the world
mm,
at the moment.
yeah,
So it's a constant, and here in Glastonbury, yes, she is very venerated here in
yeah.
Glastonbury. So every time I go to the White Spring, I sit in her chapel, which is not a chapel. It's like a hazel boughs,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
sit there with her, and I walk to Bride's Mount.
Mm-hmm.
She is so much part of my life.
Yeah.
I can't even separate myself.
Well, you live in ground zero of goddess world, so
Yeah, I'm very lucky like that. Yeah, but I think it's like because I'm working with the temple in Sheffield in the UK
sure.
at the moment,
Yeah.
and I work more with Brigantia, but as an aspect of Bridget.
Yeah.
But I can feel
Yeah.
her there in the wildlands as well, and in Ireland,
Yeah.
obviously, where Pauline lives, and in every,
Yeah.
especially in the British Isles here, she is so everywhere in wells, in churches, and yeah, yeah, you can't,
Ever present.
yeah, ever present.
Pauline, how do you tend Bridget's flame throughout the year, not just around Imbolc?
Yeah, I'm the same as Marion. I think Imbolc is probably the part of the year that I honor her the least, and I don't say that lightly, but she's every day. She is
Yeah.
my life,
Hmm.
essentially. I feel her in this country, absolutely, but I feel her really pronounced in Glastonbury also. I love to travel, so I'm
Mm.
always mindful of what pops into my head, where to go, because it's always divine inspiration to go there. But in Ireland, in particular, I feel her on the Curragh Plains. I live quite near to Kildare, and it's so expansive. It definitely oozes her energy. But
Mm.
she's everywhere. She's in the well. She's in all the seasons. Yeah, like in bulk. When people say, "What do you do in bulk eve or whatever?" It's like what I do if it's Saturday night. It doesn't matter. It's like
Yeah.
she's just so present. And
Yeah.
like what Marian said, I don't separate very well either. I'm
Right.
Mm.
always with her.
It's ever present in all our lives.
Mhm.
And Courtney, how do you honor Bridget and tends Bridget's flame throughout the year?
So for me, it's in pretty subtle ways. I'm a newly single mom, so there's, of a very small child in which which, there are times when through the transitions of our life, just as the two of us, that, nighttime has been hard. And so in order to model stillness and model the kind of calmness that my little one needs in order to sleep, I think it's really drawing on the foster mother, the midwife, and have it that kind of needing to hold that stillness. Um, that's really been powerful for me as the last year. And what is something I've always done ever since my first trip to Ireland a number of years ago. I was able to light a candle from the flame at Kildare, which every candle I've had for Bridget since then has been lit from that flame, and it's been as I've been able to pass that flame along to others in the form
Mm.
of lit candle wicks and such. So that's been a
Mm.
huge part of
Oh,
it. For so long, Bridget
yeah.
for me was about community, and
Yeah.
right now Bridget is much more about my own journey as a mother, which has been pretty unconventional.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, and different than
Sounds
I
like
thought it
it.
would look.
Yeah.
And that's very much how Bridget stands, a little bit of the unconventional.
Mm.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And then lastly, why is Goddess Brigid relevant today? And how do you think she will evolve or adapt to the future? Real quick before we run out of time, let's see. Let's go with Marion.
Oh, well, I think it's really since, I think it's 2 years ago now, isn't it, Pauline, that she became like really acknowledged in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that part of it was really from, I think Laura Murphy was the one who
Mhm.
initiated this.
Hmm.
But it was really as a protector for women, in the past for unmarried women, mothers. And I think she's very important at the moment. I think she will inspire us. As I said, the aspect that I really acknowledge at the moment as the one that stands up, but
Yeah.
also the one who is for justice and stands up for the vulnerable. I
Yeah.
think we need her more than ever. So I think she's
Yes.
very, very relevant at the moment.
Yeah. Pauline, real quick, why do you think she's relevant and how do you think she'll evolve or adapt to the future?
I think everything that she was venerated for in our past, in our collective past, is still entirely present in our world.
Yeah.
For all our advancements, nothing has changed. We're still dealing with displacement, in which Maman Brigitte is strongly rooted. We're still dealing with invasion, with colonialism, which is Brigantia's realm. We're still dealing with the marginalized, the homeless. And for me, the goddess of hearth and home is so typical in this unbelievable situation we're all facing with homelessness. So she's as relevant because society and humanity has not changed over millennia.
Courtney, real quick, why do you think Goddess Brigid is relevant? How do you think Goddess Brigid will evolve and adapt to the future?
One of the key things about her that is so crucial is her practicality. And that's something that I've learned from my Irish friends, my Irish Brigid devotees, is that use what you've got, and recognizing that the power, the connection to the divine is within your reach. It does not need to come from an external source. I'm a big believer that patriarchal Christianity has set us up for fascism in a really, really horrific way. And so continuing to connect with spirit on your own terms is one of the greatest tools for countering that narrative. And I think it's the easiest way and also the most powerful way. And I see Brigid coming through in that respect.
Wonderful. Yeah, I absolutely concur with that. For me, is forging new ways of thinking and perceiving in the world. I think she is there with us to launch us into the future and launch our most honorable intentions and spirituality. So I always kind of look at her as a futuristic goddess as well. So we are going to close with a really quick 30-second little blessing by Pauline. And I just wanted to say thank you, Mary and Pauline and Courtney, for your inspiration, your teachings, your books about our beloved goddess Brigid. And thank you for sharing Brigid's light out into the world today. So thank you all again, and blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Yeah. So Pauline, do you want to do a quick little goodbye blessing?
Okay. Brigid of justice, Brigid of peace, Brig, hills most high, Brigid, wells so deep, heart and home of forge and flame, let us always remember your many, many names. So mote it be.
So mote it be.
So mote it be.
So mote it be. All right. Well, thanks again to everybody who joined us today. Happy Imbolc, and thanks to all our listeners for joining us today. And thank you again, everybody, Marian, Pauline, Courtney, for everything that you do. And I love your books, and you are inspiring to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thanks so much, Bridget.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, blessings.